A little bit about the agenda today. Since our kickoff meeting was in January, we've been doing a lot of several lines of work and kind of wanted to tell you about that today. Just honestly hear feedback from all of you and make sure we're on the right track. We can do it. First off, we have I first wanted to kind of introduce you to some key personnel. Obviously not here right now. So first we have our New River Valley, friends from the Regional Commission. They're really overseeing all of the grant. It's the strategic development grant itself. And we've actually hired Kyle Knight, our new regional innovation officer. So hopefully you're going to see a lot of Kyle in the coming months. He's really going around doing a listening tour, trying to get a better understanding of everything we have in this region to make sure that honestly, all of our voices are heard. And this Tech Hub really does represent the Valley, Danville, and the larger Southwest and Southern Virginia.
Brenda.
Next, we have our technical experts. We have in the room, we have Dr. Chris Williams, who is really a leader in additive manufacturing, as well as a lot of other different endeavors at Virginia Tech, trying to really focus on advanced manufacturing and how can Virginia Tech be a large entity around advanced manufacturing and helping manufacturers both in this region and elsewhere. We also have Bob Moore, who's not with us today, but he is basically a big leader and expert in applied materials, particularly when we're looking at polymers and sustainable materials. And then we also have all of our kind of staff at Virginia Tech Center for Economic and Community Engagement, who we're currently leading the strategic development planning process. So the past few months, we've been really kind of honing the vision for this Tech Hub. We've been engaging one-on-one with a lot of companies. Thanks for being here, Elliot. We've been assessing a lot of existing assets in the region that we can really build on. And as part of that message honing, we have an initial kind of vision and mission, as you can see here on the board. And so, for instance, we want agile, affordable, and resilient solutions for advanced manufacturing. The Virginia Tech, what am I saying? The AM2 Tech Hub will establish Virginia's New River Valley and Danville region as a global destination, a home for industry additive manufacturing and material solutions, where manufacturers can find technological pathways towards secure, resilient, agile, and innovative supply chains. AM2 Tech Hub will provide commercialization support, technical assistance, talent development and retention, and collaborative opportunities to support America's manufacturers. And as part of this kind of honing, we have actually hired Richmond a business consulting company, Frontier, out of Richmond. And I'm actually going to pass it over quickly to Megan Curry, who's from Frontier, and going to really talk about our logo to this point, and we'd love to hear feedback.
Awesome, thanks, Sarah. I will go ahead and get started so I don't take up too much time here. So let's go ahead and start with the logos on the left. These two logos will be our primary logos that use the full name of the Tech Hub. The idea here with the accompanying icon is to represent this idea of 3D printing and bringing multiple elements together to form a solid shape. So note that the shape is not complete, which is meant to elicit this idea of in progress, sort of a mathematical engineering approach to this work. And then I think what's really nice about this icon is, and you'll see how I do this here on the next slide, but we can pull on this layering pattern that it makes to use in some of the other brand elements. It creates this really nice pattern and almost a forward future thinking approach, which I really like. So on the right, we have our secondary logo, which is really nice to have as it allows us to use sort of the, abbreviated AM squared name. But both of these logos, the primary and secondary, can be used interchangeably. And that will do it for the logo. Happy to move on to the website. Thanks, Sarah. So here's a look at the website homepage. And to clarify what we're looking at here, the left view is the top half of the page, and then the right side shows the bottom half as if you've scrolled down. This is, by no means complete, so I wouldn't spend too much effort trying to read each sentence here, but I hope that this gives you a good idea of how we can approach the design and really the brand as a whole. So our color palette is meant to feel friendly, approachable, sustainable. I also really want to put an emphasis on Virginia to represent how our location really plays a strong role in the approach to this work. So, we'll have an impactful GIF that lives at the top of the page that you'll see there. This gives us a really great opportunity to call out all the benefits right off the bat for the user. We'll get their attention as soon as they land on the page, which I think is really, really important. Then throughout the homepage, we'll tell your story. So what is your mission? Who are you partnering with to make it happen? Why is this work so important? And then finally, which is possibly the most important, at the call to action at the end, how can our audience get involved? So we'll make that really key at the end of the page and provide multiple opportunities for them to do that as well. So next steps, the plan is to, sort of build a couple sub pages in addition to this. And that will allow us to give more detail and specifics about who is involved, what your impact will be. I'd love to highlight, opportunities where we can bring in specific programs or research that you all have done. So that's what I'm thinking there. Feedback, reactions.
Thoughts? Part of, I guess, the decision and choice for this particular land and logo really is about, it really does speak to the additive manufacturing aspect. It also speaks to materials aspect, where we're thinking about crystalline materials. And this is something that, we can start in this region, but, as we grow, how can we really incorporate all of Virginia and really be that hub for Virginia additive and additive manufacturing and applied materials. Yeah.
You said you're going after crystalline materials? Is that the focus of it?
That is not the focus, no. But I thought, and this is me who is not a scientist at all, thinking and the aspect of kind of fits into that.
I guess I would just add a little context because we have worked with the group that does this for a long time. Hi, Megan. Just the power of a brand, even when you're at the vision stage and you're still figuring out what you want to be, how to just bring it to life, how to have people feel a vision for that. And some of the other programs like this, I don't know if they're technically tech hubs or if they're Build Back Better programs, have made a whole bunch of progress by building these kinds of things. And so we looked at others that have done that and just give it an identity and almost makes it come to life. So that's what this should do for you. And we talked with folks who really wanted to see that Virginia piece be really, front forward and that we make Virginia home, right? So it's a destination. It's not just a set of work. But
Forgive me for my stupidity. Is it the power of two for, what does that mean?
AM squared.
Squared, right?
So that's additive manufacturing and applied materials.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we did not muck around with the name too much because that's the name that they won with. So the grant was won with that, and there was lots of deliberation among technical folks on, are we advanced manufacturing? Is it both of, how specific do we want to be? But I think that the decision was made to work with what we have because it already had an identity as a granted program with that name.
To Brandy's point, this is about planting a flag for the program. There are a lot of very experienced economic development marketers in the room, so we do this with all humility and recognize it's a starting point and meant to connect with and support and, launch content of your own as well. So all ears open as we move forward, but we just needed to start something.
Yeah, we need to start something. Moving forward, I think one thing that's going to be that we really, really want to do on this website is highlight the work of our partners as it relates to the Tech Hub. So in the next probably several months, we will be going out and talking to each of our industry partners and maybe doing some video around, what does what do you do in applied manufacturing or additive materials and applied manufacturing. I'm honestly the worst marketer. I am so sorry. Not my field. But being able to really tell everyone's story and kind of how they fit in this larger umbrella. And thank you, Megan. I know you have to jump off to go to an airport, but appreciate you being
I have a plane to catch, but thank you all.
So when we do that,
Excited to see where this work goes.
we're going to be touching base with the partners in the communities and involve you in our gathering. So no intent to freelance in your backyards or anything.
Perfect. Well, I look forward to it. Thank you all.
Sarah might add that we're looking with Onward to be hosting this content on their site. So that deliberative collaboration of industry and economic development, marketing, promoting region.
So, if you don't have immediate responses to this, but you want to think it over, please reach out to me with any input or thoughts about what this is, what content should be on this. If there are tweaks and things that you don't quite understand, like how explaining the AM squared aspect of it, happy to take anyone's feedback.
Well, I was just going to ask about, I mean, I love Virginia and I love the mountains.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I live here, but you talk about the word hub, which is a circle, right? And you're bringing all it together in elements. Then I think that showing that graphically on the website would be very useful. I think you've got some slides like that. Show me.
Yeah, we do have that, and you're right. We don't have that on here yet, but I think that will be really important to really show the geographic breadth of what we're doing. Yeah, thanks, Don. Anyone else?
I'm curious, do you have a website URL yet? Have you secured a?
Not yet, no. I'm looking at Rachel, who's from Onward NRV. Not yet. We're still really in the designing, the designing stages of this.
My question was just answered.
Anybody have web development skills?
Yeah. As soon as, okay, so again, love to hear input. Reach out to me. It's Sarah, SARAH, LH@vt.edu. Happy to take any input here after this, via email, whatnot. But yeah, when we do finally launch, we really are going to, we'll send this out and share this with everyone who's in this group, with the consortium first, to make sure that, we've got all of our T's crossed, I's dotted, and it really does reflect everyone in this room. And speaking of kind of what our consortium really is, what is that umbrella? Just as a reminder to everyone, we really are looking at a wide spectrum of companies and resource providers. So if you are looking we're looking at materials companies, looking at sustainable materials acquisition and synthesis. We're looking at characterization and inspection, design services. And once we have these materials, what do we do with them? How do we apply them? How do we make them into something that can be used by other manufacturers? We're really looking at those who actually create the additive manufacturing machines, such as Nancy and Alan. Well, no, Alan, you don't make them. Never mind. I'm going to come back to you in just a sec. Such as Nancy, who actually makes the machines, who really from all different aspects, and then those who actually use the machines in consultation, such as Alan at Fastech, to make the parts for other manufacturers. I think when we've talked a lot to different manufacturers and to people in this sphere, one thing that has really come out is the idea of needing more private sector characterization, acquisition, design services, and that kind of post-processing QC aspect. So that's something that probably moving into the future, we're gonna try to see how can we do that for our region. But then finally, you have materials companies, you have kind of the additive manufacturing companies, but then we also have these other companies that use all of this, that use the materials, that use the additive manufacturing equipment. So that can really range, honestly. And at this point, I don't think we should really narrow it until we really have a sense of what we're looking at. But so that goes from anywhere from transportation, heavy machinery, construction, packaging, biotech, as well as energetics. So again, really, we are having a pretty wide umbrella. And if we're looking at this side, this nice little box to the side, these are the resources that hopefully, if we're going to create a tech hub in this region, we need to have the resources for our companies to grow and develop. So that's really what's the lab to market commercialization and entrepreneurship resources. What are the business scale up and technology adoption resources? And what are our resources that really help towards talent development, retention, and attraction? So as we are talking kind of about those three strategies, what has, based on kind of what we've done to this point, and it's still very much a project in development, but based off of our first steps, again, talking to different companies, talking to different resource providers, some projects have come up, and this is a very small list at the moment, but it's just trying to like give everyone an idea and examples of what we could be doing in this region. So if we're talking lab to market commercialization and entrepreneurship, what about a program in intellectual property for 3D printing materials and machinery? Having basically a directory and having a program that helps people to commercialize and adopt that technology. What about boot camps and acceleration cohorts at, for instance, at RAMP, and basically really framed around additive manufacturing and applied materials? What about supporting the growth of the private sector focused on characterization and post-processing quality assurance for materials and additive manufacturers? So this is one working group that we have. We have the 3 working groups for our 3 different strategies. If you are interested in being in part of any one of these, here I have kind of the two dates we have set on the calendar for when we're meeting next. And if you are if you're at all interested in being part of any of these working groups, there is the email to Doris Waddell, who can help make sure that you're on the list. Next, we have business scale up and technology adoption. Some things that really have come up from different discussions. Program support for industry marketing and supply chain connections. So how do we make sure that all of our companies have connections both inside this region but outside? How do we find more markets for these applied materials that we're producing or additive manufacturing parts that we are producing? One-on-one technical assistance programs for sustainable materials and additive manufacturing technology adoption. Additive manufacturing workshops for small businesses. So maybe small businesses aren't necessarily ready for the one-on-one technical assistance, but can we do small business programming and workshops around these technologies, and then get them prepared for that one-on-one assistance. Annual additive manufacturing and applied materials technology conference. Could we do an annual conference that's really showing all of the different kinds of technology that we're producing in this region? And I will say, particularly to some of this and any of these project ideas, some of this is already going on. It may not just be going on around additive manufacturing or around applied materials. So I think, again, we're thinking about all of the assets that we already have in kind of the New River Valley and Danville, but also in the larger region. What can we capitalize on? What can we grow? And finally, last but not least, definitely not least, because this is the first thing everyone talks about, talent development, retention, and attraction. So things that have kind of come up is this idea of so down in Danville, the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research created GoTech. Could we have a GoTech for additive manufacturing and applied materials? So something around working with continuing and technical education programs to create curriculum around these technologies and around to really, expand people's knowledge of the technologies and understanding on how to use them. An AM2 Talent Hub with basically an actual physical hub with labs, with machinery that all of our consortium partners can use. And it can be very much one of those things where we could do actual research, applied research, and technical assistance with companies, but we could also do talent development. Manufacturing Skills Institute certifications. The Manufacturing Skills Institute is very well known nationally. How do we maybe bring some of that here and those those strengths and programming here around additive manufacturing and applied materials? And then going at what kind of internships, apprenticeships, and work-based learning programs can we make? How can we better connect different companies and help them to create these apprenticeship or internship programs in their companies and provide that assistance, because we know that's a heavy lift. And again, if you want to be part of any of these working groups, email Doris Waddell. I do have each of these 3 slides. I have a copy behind here. And I would actually, at the end of this, after we have some discussion and Q&A, because I'm sure people have some ideas that they'd like to actually share for the group, I'd love to hear feedback. I want people to write things down. I have sticky notes back there. I have sticky notes, Sharpies back there, even with pens. So if you didn't bring your own pen, it's okay. I have a pen for you. And try to and think about these 3 strategic areas. Think about what are the industry needs for each of these. Who needs to be part of this? Who needs to be part of the implementation for talent or lab to market implementation or scale up and technology adoption? And what other projects, obviously this is not the end of all the projects that we could be doing in this area. What other things do we need to be thinking about moving forward? And that brings me to next steps. Again, as I said, we're going to really be finalizing the logo and website, thinking about ways of continued outreach, such as, doing a monthly newsletter to you all. Tell us, to tell you, here's what's up, here's what's going on, here's all of the cool things that we can highlight that our partners are doing. Monthly working groups, again, that really is kind of reviewing the asset map, making sure we're understanding everything that's going on in this area that we can build on. Identify the strategies and projects that we really need to go towards. And then August, September, that's probably going to be one of the big things is really looking at, okay, what do we come up with and how do we prioritize these projects and how do we really implement them to make sure that, by this fall, we want to be going after grants. We want to be going after, we want to be hopefully starting some of these projects that don't actually necessarily require funding, but really hitting the ground running. And then also to TBD, our next consortium meeting will probably be down in Danville. I've talked to Linda Green and she said that they would be happy to host at the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research, IALR. And so we'll be able to see some of the cool things that are going on there and really kind of make sure that, again, we're connecting kind of the Danville and the New River Valley physically, as well as just through all of our conversations and collaboration.